So one of my goals, just so you guys know, one of my goals is to bring people together, especially in the agent community, because in my experience, I've actually been a top agent myself. And more importantly, I've been a manager for three of the top companies. And what I realized in my time as a manager is that there's not a lot of support for agents. And I'm not here to blame anybody, just so we're clear, right? This isn't about blaming anybody. It's just about acknowledging that there's not a lot of support and training for real estate agents. And what I've known for the duration of my 25 years in real estate is that when you show an agent how to do things the right way, they usually succeed at the highest level, especially people that are interested in helping others. That's our goal at Real Momentum, is to have agents that are interested in really finding out what a consumer's needs are and supporting them. And I see more of agents being taught to go after appointments, to go after deals. And that's a recipe for disaster as we move into 2025. So I'm sure there's a lot of, what's the word, trepidation about where the market's headed. There's a lot of different information that you're getting out there. And Amanda knows this. James, Aaron, Beth, these are all people that are part of the coaching program. Amanda is not, but Beth, James, Aaron are. Amanda went through the training program. Where there's a lot of trepidation in where the market's going. And I'm just going to share with you guys my personal opinion. And I'm also going to share with you facts, right? So we have not had a correction for 15 years, guys. 15 years. The average time for a correction in the history of our country is 7 to 10 years. So every 7 to 10 years, we have a correction in the market. So what does that mean? What it means is that the market went up more than it was supposed to at a certain point. And because of that, the prices have to come down to adjust to it. That's what a correction is. And so when the pandemic hit was when we were supposed to have a correction. And instead of having a correction, the market went straight up, right? Straight up, literally. And so there's been a lot of what I call false inflation over the last few years. And so as we move into 2025, I believe we're going to see a correction. Now, I share articles with my agents. We have seen an uptick in listing inventory of 25%. So the problem was, the reason why we had the market go straight up is because there was no inventory. So as we move into 2025, I expect the inventory to expand. I expect for the prices to start to correct and adjust. And one of the things that I want to share with you is, if you're talking to sellers right now, you should absolutely be having conversations with them to get on the market right now. Because right now the market's hot. Right now there's still a shortage of inventory. Right now you know what you can get for your property. And there's a lot of sellers out there that are saying, oh, we want to wait for the interest rates to come down because we think that will get us more money. And the reality is that if every seller's having that same idea and they all jump into the market when the interest rates go down, then that's going to crush the prices, right? That's going to really decimate the prices. And the one thing I want to share with you guys is you can't time the market. Nobody can time the market. So you're not going to be able to go, oh, the market's shifting, I should jump in now. When the market shifts, it shifts like that. If I could snap my fingers, it shifts like that, right? It shifts suddenly, all of a sudden. And so a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. You want to start talking to your sellers about getting on the market now when they know what they can get for their property. And yeah, if they have to swallow a little higher interest rate, then if it goes down, they can refine. That's easy, right? I always say you can ghost the interest rate. You don't even have to break up with it. You just ghost it. That's the beauty of it, right? Date the rate, marry the house. And so, I want agents to be prepared for what's coming in 2025. The second thing I want to share with you guys is I believe that this will be the best time for people to become listing agents, for people to take over market share. We saw this happen in 2008, and we're going to see it happen again in 2025. A lot of people are going to leave the industry. A lot of changes are happening. And those that are consistent and are committed and are following a plan and doing what they're supposed to be doing will succeed at the highest of levels. They have nothing but opportunity in front of them. And that's how I see it for 2025. So It's 11:07. Without further ado, I want to get started. I'm just going to give you a little bit of overview quickly of what we're going to do today. So the first hour is going to be business planning with me. And I'm going to share with you guys our electronic business plan that we created ourselves. We're going to be able to input how much money we want to make, and it's going to show you exactly what you need to do. And that's assuming that we're proactive, right? So our business plan is based on lead generation. And lead generation has become like this dirty, ugly word. And the reality is lead generation is part of the business that we're in, right? I had to acquiesce to that. I had to understand that lead generation was part of my business, even though I didn't like it. I don't find a lot of people who love going out there and lead generating. I do find a ton of people who love what it brings them. It brings them the opportunity to practice real estate, to do so many things, to help a lot of people. That's the goal, right? And so lead gen should be a small part of your business. If you were to lead generate for 2 hours a day, you'd have more business than you knew what to do with. Literally more business than you knew what to do with. And I'm going to share that with you as we move forward. So without further ado, let's, in the chat, I think Edgar shared with you guys our social media. Oh, here we go. We got 4 years, South Bay, 2.5 years, 10 years, Dallas. Great. Fantastic. And we got somebody who's taking notes for their assistant. So let's get started. I love it. And I'm going to share with you guys our PowerPoint. Okay. Here we go. View slideshow. Planning to succeed. So let's open it up. What percentage, how much more likely is someone to succeed with a business plan? What percentage are they more likely to succeed with a business plan? Just throw out a number, somebody. Anybody? Come on, let's participate.
40.
40. Okay, great. Anybody else? We'll take 3 guesses.
I say 99, but let's go with 73.
73.
75.
Oh my God. Amanda, you just righted Beth Lerner because it's 80.
Oh, it's 80? Yeah.
Beth said 73. Amanda's like 75. I felt like I was on The Price is Right again. So it's 80%. 80% more likely to succeed. The problem with business plans is that they're not broken down into week by week, quarter by quarter. When you take your overall business plan and then you can break it down into what do I need to do every single day in order to succeed, then it becomes something that you can eat, something you can absorb. But when you look at a business plan with overall, I got to do all of this, it shuts you down. It causes you to put your business plan in a drawer and never look at it again. And that's usually the experience that people have. So for today, we're going to go through why we business plan, how we business plan, the goal, the skills we need to master, and then SMART goals, which is how do you accomplish everything that you want to achieve? And the way you do it is with SMART goals. And I'm bringing in our mindset specialist. She's going to do a SMART goals training for the second hour. And you're going to literally be able to walk out of here with your goals written down for the year. And then she's going to take it and drop it onto your timeline, your future timeline, so that your unconscious mind aligns itself and creates the journey of reaching that goal. And that's one of the most powerful things I've ever done with people is dropping their goals on their future timeline. We see a lot of reaction to it, a lot of visceral reaction. And SMART goals are beautiful because you want to write them out as if they've already happened. We're going to teach you that today. Okay, let's get started. You don't have to go through the ground rules. That's for school. Okay, should the real estate market influence your business plan? Absolutely, it should. Because every market's different, right? And we want to look at not just where the market is now, but where's the market headed? Because you want to be able to advise your consumers on their overall goals. It's not just about what's happening right this second. It's about where's the market going. So yes, it should influence your business plan. What type of lead generation will open up in this market? Anybody want to share? Just Beth.
Me, um, what type of lead generation?
Yeah.
I would say REOs, I would say,
Distressed property.
yeah, distressed properties, probates, because most of the properties are
Probates,
probate,
expireds, for
expired.
sale by owners.
Circle prospecting is gonna be huge because,
Yes,
yeah, to get a lot of people need trust.
right. And who are the, by the way, somebody share with me, who are going to be the people that are sellers in the next 10 years?
Baby boomer.
Thank
Boomers,
you. It's the baby boomers, guys. It's the people who believe in personal communication, who respond when they talk to people face to face, not the newer generation. These are the sellers of a few. You got to know who your sellers are in order to be able to build communication and rapport with them. So will there be more business or less business?
more.
Yeah, and I believe there will be more business. But even if there was less business, would that mean that you had to do less business? It's amazing to me how people look at it like, oh my God, the market's bad, so I can't do the business I want to do.
No, you just need to leverage.
Yes, right? You can do the business that you want to do in any market. Expireds and FSBOs, distressed properties. 2 objections you must know how to overcome. And that was 2025, sorry. 2025 is pricing is going to be the biggest. In the 6 months where the market starts to shift from a seller's market to a buyer's market, the hardest thing in the world is getting sellers to price the property right, because they still think that they should get a certain amount of money and the market has shifted and it's no longer feasible and it's no longer realistic. And you need to know how to engage in those conversations. Otherwise, what I'll share with you is there'll be a lot of agents who take overpriced listings and get out of the business because they sit on them and don't sell them and work their tail off and have nothing to show for it. The second one is when the market shifts, you're going to get all these people like, I want a deal. I want a deal. They don't even know what a deal is, right? You want to educate them in terms of what a deal is. The other market that I think you guys should look at is the income property, duplex, fourplex market will be wide open in the next couple of years. There's going to be a lot of turnover. A lot of the mom and pops are going to be gone from the industry, and there'll be a lot of opportunity to sell those properties. So why do we business plan? First of all, business itself is counterintuitive to human nature. What do I mean by that? So we're used to going out there and doing everything that's put in front of us. And in the world of business, you need to take a step back and organize how you do things and time block and plan things out. Otherwise, you're not able to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So it's counterintuitive to human nature. That's why you have to realize it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. It takes some adjusting and getting used to. Consistency is the most important thing in real estate. I promise you, consistency in lead gen is the most important thing in real estate. Knowing your conversion rates. You know, when you understand how many people I need to talk to in order to get a certain amount of business, then I can then leverage that. I can then put in systems to explode that piece, right? But if I know that I'm not getting, if I'm getting 1 out of every 500 people I talk to in a certain area, then I need to go away from that too, right? So you need to find out what your conversions rates are so you move towards what's working and away from what's not working. Number 4, working with the motivated in 2025 is going to be the most important thing that you guys do. If they don't have a real motivation to sell or to buy, they're going to waste a lot of your time. So you need to understand, what are people's motivations? What's motivating them? And I see this, you know, I've now managed for Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, and Compass. And I see this across the board where agents don't know their client's motivation, which is the craziest thing to me. It's the most important thing. Number 5, monitor 1 quarter at a time, right? The reason we business plan in November is because it takes 90 days to see the fruits of your labor. So any lead gen you do between now and the end of the year will show up in 2025. And the other thing I'll share with you is between November and December is the best lead gen time in the world, because you're either going to get people that want to go on the market right away or people that want to wait till the new year, and you'll be able to capture them and set up appointments and set up a strategy before the new year comes. Number 6, we want to work less and make more money. The goal in real estate is to continually make more money and also at the same time work less. So in my estimation, as a coach, as a manager, as an agent, I want to see people working less every year and making more money. You should be making more money every year that you're in real estate. Create a sellable business. So what is a sellable business, right? If you don't know where your business comes from, then you can't sell your business. If I know that I have a database that I make $2 million a year off of, then I have a sellable database, right? That's a sellable business. But if I don't know my numbers and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm just out there trying to get deals, I'll never be able to sell my business, right? I'll never be able to create a duplicatable strategy and understand where my business is coming from. The goal is to duplicate your results, is to be able to duplicate them over and over and over again. Okay, so how do we business plan? So look at it from a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is you intend to follow the plan exactly, including affirmations, gratitude, role play, and time blocking. And 1 is you intend to do none of this. You need to answer the question of, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important to you is your business, right? Because if your business is everything to you, if your business is how you eat, how you live, how you sustain yourself, then yes, you want to business plan at a level 10. You want to follow your business plan at a level 10. That's a really important piece, is how committed are you to your business? It's the most important piece. So the goal of business plan is to keep you on track to hit your goals, know your strengths and weaknesses, improve your conversion ratios, and systematize your lead gen follow-up. And we're going to talk about those things. So that's the goal. And you know, I'm not going to do a lot of talking about our new Real Momentum membership site that we created, but I am going to talk about it a little bit because there are certain things that I think are massively important for success. And the most important thing is accountability. Accountability is the difference between your success and your failure. How accountable are you willing to be? And so back in 2004, I paid $1,000 a month for coaching in 2004. So I had to take it very seriously. It was most of my money, right? And I had to be accountable. I didn't have to. I wanted to be accountable because I wanted to succeed at the highest level. And so when you're accountable and you're part of an accountability group, yeah, you may get taken off track here and there. You may have things that get in your way, obstacles. A lot of them are self-imposed, and you'll have that group connection, that energy that supports you in moving forward, that supports you in succeeding at the highest level, which I believe is very important in an entrepreneurial endeavor. So what does database management nurturing look like, right? There's only a few things that you need to communicate with people. A newsletter once a month. You need to send out a monthly newsletter. And I break down a real estate article for my agents every month to send out to their clients. The one that I just sent to my agents was about the fact that there's a 25% uptick in inventory. There's already 25% uptick in inventory. So imagine where it's headed, right? Micro reports are quarterly news, quarterly market reports. If you guys have a quarterly market report, then you should put every client on it. Holidays, obviously, we send out holiday cards. And then you can advertise certain programs that your company may have or you may know of, like a concierge program where you can get your remodeling paid for. So there's all different things that you can be communicating with people. Storylines are the most important piece. When I say storylines, it's about people trusting you. They want to see what's going on in your life too. And I'm the worst person to do this, right? Because I never wanted to share social media and what's going on with me. And now that I'm a coach, it's imperative that I do. And as I've started to do it more and more and more and started to attach to it, I've seen a lot of traction recently, but I didn't see a lot of traction for the first 6 months. It's about sharing your story with people. They want to know that they want to feel like they trust you if they're going to work with you. So you should share important real estate information, and you should also share stuff that's going on with you. And the articles, you know why articles, guys? Because you can tell a client till you're blue in the face and they'll ignore you. As soon as you point to an article that says the same thing, they'll be like, oh, okay, I get it. Right? The article is the end all be all. And so articles are really strong in confirming your message. So what are the skills you need to master in order to have the best conversion ratios? Well, first of all, what's your unique value proposition? It's one of the things that is the most important thing for agents to know, and one of the things that I see agents least familiar with. If I were to ask any one of you, what is your value proposition for a seller? You should be able to rattle it off right now off the tip of your tongue. What is your value proposition for a buyer? You should be able to rattle it off of your tongue. What is your value proposition for an investor? You should be able to rattle that off. Now, a lot of the things will be similar, but there will be differences for sellers, differences for buyers, differences for investors, because they need slightly different things. Number two, one of the things we focus on is role play at Real Momentum. I teach agents how to engage in really simple conversations and ask questions. So they never engage in negative argumentative conversations. They never engage in negating clients. They just ask questions and dig deeper. And because of that, they build rapport and trust, and they're able to get appointments easily, consistently. 3, rapport building skills, right? Where does rapport come from? See, rapport is only 7% words, 7%. 93% is physiology, tone, rate of speech. So you need to know how to build rapport quickly and easily. Number 4, you need to know how to do a buyer consultation. Number 5, you need to know how to do a listing presentation. And I mean, you should get 90% of your listings. If you do a duplicatable listing presentation, you should be able to see 90% will sign with you. And the other 10% or 10% you don't want to sign with you. Contracts and disclosures. You know, you should know how to talk about contracts and disclosures. It's very important. Buyer broker agreement. That's the easiest thing in the world, guys, because it's really not worth the paper it's written on. You should be able to engage in a fruitful conversation of why you need somebody to sign a buyer broker agreement. And then objection handling. You're only going to get this certain amount of objections in real estate. They're usually the same ones, just verbalized differently. When you can master handling objections, then you have mastered the game of real estate, I like to say. Number 9, social media. Number 10, open houses. Number 11 is your CRM, is your Bible. Your database is your Bible. And we teach you exactly how to set it up the right way, how to communicate with it effectively. We give you action plans for geographic farming, for Sphere, for expireds. You know, our goal at Real Momentum is to provide agents with the tools so that they can be out there building relationships. And branding is as simple as everything that you send out looks the same formula, so that when people see it, even out of the corner of their eye, they know, oh, that's Ophir Adar. That's Ophir Adar Group, because I see he has the green colors, he has the same setup on his stuff. So branding's not about this huge, enormous brand that you're creating. It's about the consistency of what you're sending out. All right. Does anybody have any questions before we share the business plan with you and start to create our own business plan? Anybody? All right. So Edgar, if you can drop the business plan in the chat, what you guys need to do is you need to double click it. So don't just click it and then start to fill it out, because then you won't have saved it onto your computer. So you want to first save it, download it to your computer, save it, and then work in it from there. That way you're going to have this electronic business plan. Anytime you want to use it, you can use it moving forward. Perfect. So I'll give you guys a minute to pull up the business plan. I'm going to pull mine up. Okay. So do you guys see the business plan here now? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Amanda. Let me know when you guys have downloaded it.
Yes, I'm downloading it.
Perfect. I'll give you guys, we'll start the business planning at 11:30. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes, download the business plan. Take a drink if you need to, get ready, because we're going to really go right into creating a business plan for you right here and now.
What's the difference between downloading it and opening it in our browser in this situation?
Because if you open it in your browser and you fill it out, it won't save it.
Okay.
That's why you want to download it to your computer. And now you have that copy and you can play with it and tweak it anytime you want.
Okay.
And I'll show you guys how you can do that too. Okay. So we'll give it 1 more minute and then we'll get started on going through the business plan. But while we're here, you know, if you guys are ready, you can look at this first page here.
There's tabs at the bottom.
Yes, there are tabs at the bottom. So you guys see the first page here?
Did you guys download it as a PDF or what would you recommend?
Download it as a Excel sheet. And
Mm.
then once you have it onto your computer, you can reopen it. And that's when you can start using it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Edgar. Okay, so you'll see here we have different conversion numbers. I'm going to go through all of this with you right now. So let's look at the first page. The first page is the summary page. So here's your net commission income goal. This is what you're going to create right now. So I'm just going to use 250,000 because that's an easy goal to use. So that's my number right here. That's my goal for net commission. I want a net 250,000. So if you look down to the gross right here to the business plan summary. Hey, Edgar, can you guys see my arrow, my pointer?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So you guys see down here the 312,500. That's what you need to gross in order to net 250. But you don't have to touch any of that. You just put in what you want to make. Now, how many working weeks are you going to work this year? This is why you can use this to play with anytime you want. I mean, you can make a 90-day plan if you put in 12 weeks, right? But we're doing a yearly plan right now. So we're doing 40 weeks. We have about 40 working weeks in the year, right? I like to give people time off, and I'll talk to you about that as well. And now, what's your broker commission split? So if you're on an 80-20 split, then you would put 20. If you're on a 90-10, you put 10. If you're on 70-30, you put 30. So whatever your split is with your brokerage goes in here. And then what percentage of your gross commission are you going to allocate to operating your business? Now, I always put 10%. We want to learn what our numbers are, but this is a beginning, just average. What do usually people spend? So 10% is a good number. 10% of your gross commission should go to your operating expenses. So if you're 312, then your estimated operating expenses, as you can see, I'll show the arrow down here, is 31,250. Now, what percentage of your business do you want to come from buyers and what percentage do you want to come from sellers? Because you're going to fill that out right here. Now, my training at Real Momentum, our goal is to only focus on sellers. Your buyer business will come when you're focused on sellers. You'll still have plenty of buyer business when you're focused on sellers. Doesn't mean you don't sit in open house. It doesn't mean you don't network with buyers, you don't potentially get buyers. It's just that our focus is on building our database full of sellers. That's where our focus is. And so I like to, you can put 25%, you can put whatever you want there. I like to put 0 because that's not my focus. My focus is 100% on listings. So let's just look at it. What's your average sales price in your neighbor, in your office? What's your average sales price? You guys should know what your average sales price is. You know, if we're in Los Angeles, we're in California, usually $1 million is going to be right around the average, but change it to whatever the average price point is in the market that you sell. So if it's 750, you put 750. If it's 5 million, you put 5 million. If it's 2 million, you put 2 million. Average commission, I always put 2.5% just to be safe. So there's the numbers for listing side. Now, how many Met contacts do you have in your database? This is a really important piece here, guys. When I say Met database, what I mean is this specifically. How many people are you willing to call every 90 days, every quarter, and check in with them and see what real estate needs they have and how you can support them? That's what I consider a Met contact. And to tell you the truth, most realtors will email their clients, will drip on them, send them newsletters, and never call them. And the magic is always in the phone call. It's always in the personal communication. Because first things first, out of sight, out of mind. And second things second, it's not your client's or Sphere's responsibility to stay in touch with you. It's your responsibility to stay in touch with them. And when you take that on as a proactive realtor, real estate agent, then you succeed at the highest levels. So we want to know how many people you have in your database. The goal is to get our database here to 300 people. Why? Because if I have 300 people in my database that I'm calling every 90 days, then that equates to 5 people a day. Because there's 20 days in a month, there's 60 days in a quarter, working days, right? 20 working days, 60 in a quarter, 90 in a quarter, 60 in 2 months, 90 in a quarter. 60 in a quarter. So 20 in 1 month, in 3 months is 60. So if there's 60 days and you call 5 people a day from your sphere, that's 300 people. We want to get there. It doesn't matter if you're there right now, because what's the annual conversion rate off of your sphere? When you call them every 90 days, it's 10%. So imagine if you have 300 people in a farm area, in one farm, that you're calling every 90 days. That's 30 deals in that farm. And I'm going to show you how a little bit later. So buyers, what are conversion rates for buyers? So appointment to buyer contract ratio. Now I put 75%. What does that mean? See, what I teach at Real Momentum, what we teach our agents is, I don't want you to work with everybody that comes through an open house. We only want to find the one person who's willing to have a buyer consultation with us and sit down so we can show them our value. That's the real buyer. That's the one that when we do a presentation, we'll sign the buyer broker agreement. But what most agents do is they try to communicate with as many people as possible and then follow up with as many people as possible. And they get very little results and they work their tail off. So I want one buyer consult out of every open house. And my appointment to conversion ratio will be about 75%. And I'll work with a lot less buyers and make a lot more money. Because if they sign a buyer broker agreement, then what's my conversion ratio? Well, if they sign a buyer broker agreement, I'm going to close 90% of them. So 9 out of 10 people that sign a buyer broker agreement will buy. The 10th won't, right? That's just part of the equation. Now look at the seller side. So appointment to listing taken ratio. So I put 50%. It should be, the goal for you guys should get to an 80% listings taken, appointment to listing taken ratio, meaning 8 out of 10 listing appointments you go on, you take the listing. That's the goal. That's where we want to get to. I like to be conservative, so I put in 50%, meaning you're getting 1 out of every 2 appointments, you're getting a listing. Listings to closed, so we want to close 90% of our listings. If you're closing less than 90% of your listings, then there might be a problem with your pricing strategy, your conversations. Because if I list a property, I should close it, right? 9 times out of 10. So that should be 90%. So now if you look at the summary, we got 312,000 is the gross. Your sales volume is 12,500,000. So in order to make 312,000, you need to sell 12,500,000. Your net commission is 250. Your average buyer gross commission is 25, 2.5% of 1 million, 25. Average listing is 25. So now how many listing sales do I need to have a year in order to make 312,000? 12 and a half. Well, I'd love for you guys to show me how you sell half a property. I mean, you can't co-list it, but let's just round it up to 13. So it literally equates to 1 listing a month. And when you look at it from that perspective, when you take a step back and you look at it from that perspective, if you talk to 25 people a week, new people, you will be able to get 1 listing a month. Assuming you're doing role play, you're improving your conversations, your objection handling, you should easily be able to get to 1 listing a month off of that. So that's where you get 12 and a half sales just off of listings, right? So now this is the Met side. So anybody that you have met before is considered a Met, right? So how many sales from your database? Well, there's only 2. Why? Because I only have 20 people in my Met database. That's okay. I now know that my goal is to build my Met. The more you build your Met database, the less you have to talk to people you don't know. See, I'm not telling you that you need to lead generate for the next 20 years of your life. I'm saying if you want to be in real estate for the next 10 years, you want to lead generate for the next 2 years. Build your database full of sellers. Talk to 25 people a week. Okay, so before we move on to the next page, which is the Met activity page, does anybody have any questions? Is anybody confused? Please feel free to share any concerns, thoughts. No, okay. So here we go. We got 2 sales from our Met database. That means 10 and a half have to come from our haven't Mets. So 10 and a half are going to come from listings. By the way, the Met sales, you don't know whether they're going to be listings or buyers. That's why we want to build with sellers, our database. But it could be from a sale, or it could be from a referral. When we say 10%, that means 5% are usually sales and 5% are usually referrals. So now it's going to break it down for you how many contacts you need to make yearly, how many monthly, how many weekly, and how many daily. How many emails you have to send, and I'll go through all of this with you after we go through the next 2 slides. We'll go through all of this. Okay, so Met activities. I don't have a lot because I only have 20 people that I feel comfortable calling every 90 days. And by the way, I want to share this with you guys. It's okay to have two different spheres. You can have a sphere or a certain amount of people that you just drip on, and you can have a different category for the people you call every 90 days. The people that get your newsletter, the people that get your quarterly market report. So if we have 2 people in our database, 20 people in our database, then it's only 80 calls a year, right? Because every quarter we're calling those 20 people. So if there's 4 quarters, that equals 80 calls in a year. So I'm literally making two calls to my sphere daily if I only have 20 people in my database. And the emails we already talked about, sending out the monthly newsletter, quarterly market report, and then whatever holiday cards or anything else that you want to send. But those are the 2 big ones you want to make sure you're sending to your past clients in Sphere, which is a monthly newsletter and a quarterly market. Okay, now let's look at the more important piece, because we don't have a lot of Met contacts, we have to build our business from our haven't Mets. So how many sales do we need from haven't Mets? 10.5. And we focus on listings, so 10.5 listings. So here, if you guys wanted to put in buyer activity, if you wanted to focus, so I put some different samples here for you. So open houses, right? So if you wanted 50% of your buyer business to come from open houses, that would be great. We put 0 in, so I'm going to go back right now just for the sake of this exercise, and I'm going to appointment Mets. Okay. We're going to do, excuse me, I'm going to up this to 100. I'm just going to change our numbers, right? So I up that to 100. So look how it changes everything. It changes, most of my deals are going to come from my Mets, right? And I'm only going to need 2.5 deals for my haven't Mets. See how interesting that is? The more you build your database and communicate with it effectively, the less outside lead generation you have to do. So I'm going to put that back to 20. And then we're going to go to the haven't met activities page. And so if I wanted business to come from buyers, then I would just put that in here, right? And it would auto-calculate it for me. I want my business to come from sellers. So I'm going to put only business coming from sellers. So just sold, absentee owners, expired, and door knocking. And if you look at the next slide, I have some sample conversion rates for you for buyers and for sellers. So for sell by owners is 2%, expired 1%, just sold, door knocking, most likely to sell. And then on the buyer side, you have investors, open houses. You see how it's a much higher capture rate for open houses because you can usually pick up a buyer from an open house. Apartment buildings. So why would apartment building be good for buyers? If you wanted to market to a high-end net worth building, like I used to, apartment buildings, you can literally send them, hey, you're paying $7,000 a month. You could easily afford $1 million property and pick up a couple of buyers that way. So that's one example. That's why we have apartments in there. For sale by owner open houses, you can offer to sit a for sale by owner open house. They don't care about the buyers. They only want the buyer that's buying their property. Seminars, investor seminars. Listen, I think investor seminars, I always recommend that my agents do one first-time home buyer presentation every 6 months and one investor presentation every 6 months. Why? Because you can literally pick up 4 or 5 buyers at one time and get them qualified with a lender right there. And I like helping first-time home buyers, even though it's a little more work. So you can do buyer seminar. You can do speaking opportunities. So these are all some of the numbers, right? And they're from National Association of Realtors. So let's go back. So I'm just going to keep it at just sold, which would be circle prospecting around a sale in the farm area that I want to be in. So if I'm looking to farm, let's say Sunset Strip, that's the farm area, and I have a sale in there, then I want to call all the neighbors and let them know. Now, if I don't have a sale, then I'll call them and let them know about a sale in my office. I say we just sold because it's part of my office. We just sold this property. Have you had any thoughts about selling, right? And so we have just sold, we have absentee owners, which was actually part of my strategy. We have expireds, which was also a part of my strategy. Actually, expireds are at 0% here. And door knocking's at 50%. So if we wanted 50% of our business to come from door knocking, this will literally tell us how many doors we need to knock every single week. Now that's assuming the 312 gross commission and the 250 net. If I put 500,000, it would tell me exactly how many people I need to door knock to get 500,000. Now this is also $1 million neighborhood. If you're door knocking a $3 million neighborhood, then it's less, right? You need less deals to make the same amount of money in a $3 million neighborhood. So what this is going to do is tell you exactly what you need to do based on where you want to lead generate. But the one thing that you notice is that my business plan is based on us talking to people, lead generating, having fruitful conversations, which doesn't cost us anything and is so important as we move forward for the consumers who are so confused right now and don't know what to do. So here I have 25% coming from just sold. So that means I only need to make two circle prospects a day. I only need to have 6 appointments in order to get 3 contracts from just sold. Now, if I told you you need to make 262, which is the yearly, right? Then it becomes a little more, I mean, this whole thing is 1,050 for the year. That's a lot. Like I have to talk to 1,050 people. And where am I going to do that? And how am I going to do that? But when you break it down, right? It's only talking to 5.3 people a day. That's it. You're only talking to 5.3 people a day. That's not a lot. That's doable. That's something that I can take on. And then I can track my results, right? Okay. And it will put it into a quarterly plan for you. So how many calls do you need to make a quarter? How many calls, how many emails do you need to send every quarter? How many emails do you need to send every month? And just so we're clear, most of those are going to be automated, right? They're going to be part of an action plan that you set up for your client. So if I talk to a Sphere friend of mine, I would put them on a Sphere action plan, which would include the monthly newsletter, the quarterly market report, and a 90-day check-in where the magic happens. If I was doing it with, if I wanted to do it with people I didn't know, so let's say I'm doing geographic door knocking, which is one of my favorite things in the world. Right now, I think that you can't stop a door knocker from taking over a neighborhood. You can't. I know it for a fact. So door knocking is going to be a powerful medium moving forward. You need to know how many contacts do I need to make door knocking? Let's go back to the haven't met activities, right? So if I want 50% of my business, that means 5 sales are going to come from door knocking. I need 12 appointments in order to close those. It's 6 sales. We're going to round up and 12. So I need Why is that? Because we have a 50% listing appointment ratio, right? So now let's go back to the summary. Imagine you get really good at your listing appointments and that changes to 75%, meaning that 3 out of 4 listing presentations you do, you get the listing. So now I've changed that number to 75%. What does that do? Well, look, I'm going to go back to haven't met activities. Where is that? The door knocking didn't change. Hold on 1 second. Let me try that again. Appointments to listing taken. I changed that to 75%. Okay, let's change it back to 50. Okay, so I'm not sure why the number is not changing. I'm gonna have to investigate that. Oh, there's the appointment to buyer. Okay, appointment to listing taken. Let's say it's 100%. Let's see how that changes the number. Okay, for some reason, it's not working in my master copy. It should be working in your guys's copy. So don't worry about it. But my point that I was trying to make was, let's go back here. So if I got to 75% of my listing appointments, I would take 75% of them. Then it means I have to talk to less people, right? Because I'm better at my conversion ratios. So the point that I was trying to show you is you have to go on less appointments to get the same amount of business. So if I start as a new agent and I have to go on 12 appointments to get 50%, to get 6 listings. Now, if I'm getting 75%, I don't need to go on 12 appointments anymore. I need to go on a lot less appointments. So the more you improve your conversations, the less work you have to do. The better you get at your conversion ratios, the less work you have to do, feeding into our goal of working less as we move forward and making more money. The other goal is to find out what's working and what's not working. See, if I'm doing one of these activities and I'm not having results, then I'll move away from that activity and find a different one in order to build my business. So if I'm calling absentee owners and I'm not getting anybody to list with me, then I'll stop calling absentee owners and find a different niche that I want. I would go after duplex and fourplexes and see how that works. I'd get a list of duplex and fourplexes. I believe that everything works when you learn how to have fruitful conversations. And at the same time, different areas have different scenarios, right? So like if I'm going door knocking on the Sunset Strip, it's okay to go at 3 o'clock in the afternoon because half of those people are entertainment people and they're already home. And I can tell you that from personal experience because I used to go door knocking on the Sunset Strip. But if I go door knocking in another area like the Miracle Mile, I might not reach people at 3 o'clock. They might not be home yet. That's where the trial and error comes in. That's where the strategy comes in, that we do more of what's working and less of what's not working. So I literally now have a business plan that tells me exactly what I need to do on a week-by-week basis, how many appointments I need to go on every year, how many contracts I need to get signed, how many sales I need to have in order to get the business I want to get. All right, so let's open it up for questions. I know this is a lot that we went over in a short period of time. Does anybody have any questions, any comments, any thoughts?
I have a quick
Marion?
question.
Yeah.
So if I'm making 15 contacts a year, or sorry, a month, or sorry, if I'm making 15 contacts a week, 60 a month for 40 weeks out of the year, and I'm spreading that out between, that's all haven't met contacts. if I'm working 40 weeks out of the year, that's to me 600 contacts new per year.
Right.
And at what point, so you said you're trying to build your Mets to 300, right? So what do you, how do you evaluate how many have Mets you have currently with using your CRM?
Oh, this is the exercise we've been going through, which is creating the 90-day sphere call list, right? Because you may have your sphere set up, and this goes for everybody that's here. I'm pretty sure a lot of you probably have your sphere set up, but you're not calling them. And so when you call your sphere every 90 days, that's when you get massive results. And unfortunately, I'll share with you, the least comfortable conversation is the first one, right? Like, sorry, I haven't stayed in touch. And moving forward, I'm committed to staying in touch with all of my sphere because there's so much going on in real estate and so many questions, and I want to be there for them. So, Marin, are you okay if I check in with you every 90 days? Perfect. Yeah. And, I'd love to set you up on a quarterly market report for your neighborhood. That way, every quarter, you'll get information about what's going on. So the answer to your question is there's also another number in here, right? So for every 25 people you talk to, 5 will give you their contact info to stay in touch. So if I talk to 100 people, that means I'm adding 25 of them into my database.
Right.
Now, I've talked to my agents about this. I believe geographic farming is the most powerful thing in the world. I can show people how to get expired listings easily. I can show people how to get listing appointments within 30 to 60 days from expireds. And at the same time, expireds are going to be all over the place, which takes a lot of energy going all over the place. A farm is one specific concentrated area. And when you can get 25 people out of 100 to give you their contact info, that equates to how many people in a year?
25 times 40.
25 times 12.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because it's 25 a month. So 25 times 10 is 250. So you're literally adding 300 people from one farm area into your database that you're going to call every 90 days. And the biggest mistake people make, by the way, is they're not taught how to door knock. So they think I got to go back there and reach that person again at the door, which is never going to happen, right? It's about getting that face-to-face, building that rapport quickly, and then getting them into your database for you to check in with them every 90 days. And why are geographic farms wide open? Something that's not talked about in the real estate industry anymore. We used to talk about it all the time. Does anybody want to tell me what an orphan is?
A past client that was left uncontacted.
An orphan is, Ben, you sold me a house and never stayed in touch with me. And about 70% of people in a farm area are orphans. The agent that sold them the house never stayed in touch. That means they're wide open for a listing agent when they're ready to sell. That means they're yours when they're ready to sell. But yes, 70% of agents sell somebody a home and then never stay in touch with them. It's pretty powerful, right? It's pretty amazing. All right. What other questions do we have? All right. So we just finished the first hour. You guys should have a business plan that is broken down quarterly, that tells you exactly what you need to do in order to get the business that you want to get from the seller side. By the way, for everybody that's on here, if I have 10 listings, right? Because we have 10 and a half seller sales here. If I have 10 listings, am I going to get some buyer sales from that? Of course, absolutely. We know that buyers like to go directly to listing agents. So I'm definitely going to get sales from that. So I don't have to calculate that as part of my business plan. That's just going to be gravy. That's just going to be bonus. My business plan is focused on adding sellers into my database. And now that we've gone through all of this, I'm going to turn you guys over to Deanne. So Deanne is the mindset coach at Real Momentum. I focus on the real estate. I focus on the skills training. I focus on role play, on supporting you guys in accountability groups. And Deanne focuses on the most important piece, which is our mind. You know, the only thing that holds us back from success is ourselves. It's hard to swallow that pill. It was hard for me to swallow that pill. And when you learn how to communicate effectively with your mind, there's amazing things that you can do. You can accomplish so much. And so without further ado, I'll just turn it over to Deanne.
Aloha, everybody. Aloha, Ophir. How are
Aloha.
you?
Good,
I
how
caught
are
a little
you?
bit, I caught the tail end of your meeting. So,
Yeah, so we just, went through and put our numbers in so that we can know how many people we need to talk to get the business we want to get.
okay, very cool. And so I'm just checking in with everybody. Are you guys all off screen? If you guys want to get on screen, that would be really great. That really helps me out. And if you guys are on the move and just listening in, that's all good as well. And so I'm just kind of wanted to get some more interaction. Hey, James. Hey, Aaron.
Right? Where are my people? Show yourselves.
Yeah, appear. And so, it seems that you guys had spent the past hour doing numbers and figures and business planning and spreadsheets. And so we're going to switch some gears over. And I think with Ophir, he felt that going over the numbers and the details, now we're going to take those details and go into the mindset piece. And today we're going to cover setting goals. I'm going to share some slides with you guys. And for those of you that are on and you're able to interact, I just kind of wanted to check in. What we're going to be covering is something called SMART goals. It is a methodology that's been around. If you guys have done a lot of personal growth or development, SMART goals is a pretty common thing that people talk about. And I wanted to just get a feel, if you guys could, some of you could chime in and raise your hands. I kind of want to get a feel of your knowledge and your experience with goal setting. For some of you, you know about it, but you don't really do it, and that's totally okay. For some of you, you guys set goals, you guys have a journal, you guys do this as a process in your business, and you're pretty disciplined about it. So I just kind of want to hear from you all where you are in the area of setting goals.
Don't all
Hello?
participate at once.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, hi.
hey,
So
Scott.
for me, it's like I can set goals. I feel like I'm good at setting goals.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is, following through, right? Like I start the process, and then
Okay.
it's like continuing that process. So, it's just like when I start reading a book, a lot of times I'll put it down and then I'll not pick it up again. And so
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's like a similar thing. Where it's like, no, like continue going through it, go through the motions and finish that book. And yeah, so
Okay.
that's my challenge.
Thank you so much, Scott, for sharing that. And I'm just going to ask a couple of more questions around that, Scott. Do you write your goals down, or is it like you make a decision in your mind, I'm going to read this book, and then you have to deal with the not following through?
I usually write it down. I put stuff in my calendar. So I have a calendar,
Okay.
and if it's not in the calendar, it definitely won't get done.
So setting goals,
So
not
yeah.
a problem. Follow through is where the challenge is.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah, we could definitely be we'll be working. That's technically what we do work on the mindset piece. Okay, anyone else? James is not on mute.
Yeah, I think I just need some additional specificity with my goals. You know,
Perfect.
I'll have a general direction, but it just needs to be more specific. Probably write them down, make sure they're attainable, realistic, and set a time limit. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to be talking about.
Yes, that's what we're going to delve in today. Great. Thank you so much, James. Anyone else? One more person. Just share where you're at with
I'll
goal setting in
share, I'll
general.
share for me, Deanne.
Okay.
Because, you know, when I started in real estate, this was 2002. I didn't have any business acumen. I didn't have a business background. So I didn't really fully believe and trust the business plan, right? If I had trusted that if I did these things, the results would come, then I think I could have attached to it a lot more. But I just didn't know if this was, I was doing things the right way. I was going to get the results like you're
Yeah.
supposed to. So I had a lot of doubt.
Okay, so Ophir, what I'm hearing you say is there was a resistance. Like it seems that the business plan and the strategy, the hard data is already there for the goal, but you didn't trust the goal completely.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's like me saying, yeah, if you go door knocking, you're going to get this result. It's how you do it, right? It matters.
Yes.
And if you're not taught how to do it, you're not going to get that result from door knocking.
Okay.
And
And
I
so
didn't
I
know that
do,
at the time. So
yeah. And you, if you've heard me speak here before, this is your first time, you know that I'm all about saying it how it is. Because when we try to make up something in our head or we try to make it sound a little better than we want to, or we're ashamed of our answer, I want you guys to just take note with what Ophir said because I want you to pay attention. If you were to tell me on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 having zero resistance to the strategy he's sharing with you versus 100, meaning you're fighting it all the way, this doesn't work, I don't want to do it, where are you at on a scale from 0 to 10 with the amount of resistance that you have towards the strategy being given to you by somebody who's mastered it and who's modeled that it was successful for him, right? And that gets you real honest. And then that also, I think, if you share it, and Ophir, I'm chiming in for you here, it's almost like if you share that, then he can help you. I can help you with how to tweak that resistance and discover what you're really resistant about rather than you pretending and going along that it's going to work, but deep down inside you're like your little 6-year-old is fighting the process, and then you feel exhausted, and then you feel the term is when you're split apart, like your psyche is in conflict constantly inside your head because you're hearing this is going to work, no it's not, this is going to work, no it's not, this is great, the numbers make sense, but it's not going to work, it's not going to work for me, right? And so that conversation, does
it can
anybody
also
want
be
to
draining.
yes it is, does anybody want to share like where their number of resistance, I know this is a very vulnerable thing, but again it's like to be brave enough to go, hey, this is where I'm at with my resistance, does anybody want to share where they fall in that? And okay, if you, all good if you guys don't either.
Everybody's shy today for some reason.
I would say a 4 for me. And
Yeah.
that's not me not believing in it working. Totally believe it'll work.
Mhm.
It's just
Yep.
intimidating to commit to a plan like this. I don't know why. Just because I haven't done it in the past. So it's just
Okay.
it's intimidating, I suppose.
Yeah. Can I just ask a little bit more around that, James? What specifically is intimidating, if you could name it?
Well, we just figured out our numbers based on the worksheet here, and in addition to existing business having to commit to lead gen, although I know it's going to systematically work,
Mm-hmm.
making myself do it feels intimidating at this moment. But I know I know. I am totally on board about it working.
Okay, great. Anyone else? No? Okay. But thank you for sharing, James. And again, it's, hey, Ophir is admitting he had resistance.
I
So
listen, I had more resistance than everybody that's on this call put together. That's how much resistance I had.
that's awesome. That's awesome to share, right? Because then for you guys, then you kind of can just relax and go, okay, the resistance is a part of the process, right? And
Yes.
so it's almost like instead of resisting the resistance, you embrace the resistance.
Yes. It's true,
Oh,
Deanne, though, but it's like,
yes,
look, if you know this is going to work, then you embrace the resistance and figure out how you overcome it, because then you're going to absolutely win.
correct, 100%. Right. And so, in terms of SMART goals, if we're going to delve into it today, so we're going to be discussing why having SMART goals matter. And I think we all, as human beings in modern day society, we have a knowing of why goals matter and why they are important. But I wanted to share with you guys just a different definition when it comes from the lens of NLP, which works a lot with your conscious and your unconscious mind. If I were to just generalize the topic, we have what's called a conscious mind, and then we have our unconscious, which we're mostly actually run by. So our unconscious mind, it runs our body, it runs our thoughts, a lot of the category of limiting beliefs, programming, like when Scott said, I want to read this book, conscious mind. Unconscious is like, do we really have to read it? I don't know if I feel like reading it today. I don't no, I don't want to. I know we said we would, but I don't know. And sometimes you spend more time resisting the task that you set a goal out for than just taking the action and the task itself. And so that resistance comes from the unconscious. And that's what we delve into here in the mindset so that we can get the unconscious mind on board. Now, knowing that you have the conscious and the unconscious, it's a really great model to grasp and understand because it's even in the real estate market, all the people that you guys interact with, they have a conscious mind, what they tell you, and then the unconscious, which is how they're behaving and how they're feeling and what they're really thinking in the back of their mind when they're just telling you this, but like what's really going on unconsciously, the fear, the greed, the resistance, that's all unconscious. And so when you know the difference between both, one of the best models that I use to explain the roles is imagine that you have a cruise ship and your conscious mind is the captain and the unconscious mind is your crew members. And the reason why goal setting is so important and clarifying the goal is so important is because it's imagine being in a ship and you're a crew member and the captain's like, I just want to go over there. And you might think, like, what do you mean over there? How are we going to get there? What coordinates? Where exactly are we going? Why are we going there? And so, the more vague we are about our goals, our unconscious mind is confused and it can't get on board to do the things that it knows how to do. Like, one of the terms that is used is that your conscious mind is the goal setter and your unconscious mind is the goal getter. So, how's your unconscious mind supposed to go get the things that you want, meaning line you up for the connections? Have you guys ever had a day where you're in flow and maybe the right person calls and the right thing happens and an opportunity happens and you get a deal and then you earn money or you have new connections, like those kinds of things? Those happen because you were put in the right place at the right time because maybe you trusted your gut or you listened to something like a thought in your mind when you had a gut feeling, those are coming from your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind is actually waiting to set you up, but it needs to know exactly what it is that you want. And so SMART goals, they're just they're guidelines. SMART goals are guidelines to help you clarify the picture. And then at the end of today, we're going to go through an exercise to create a SMART goal. And based on what you guys just went through in the last hour, maybe we'll create a 90-day SMART goal from that. Ophir, does that sound good? From
That
what you
sounds
guys just
great.
went over to solidify it?
Wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll do a visualization at the end of the session, and then we'll work on action steps. These are big picture, be present. Thank you for those of you who have your camera on. If you're on the move, totally okay. And then being open to something new. There is no failure, only feedback. Also, for those of you who are experts with goal setting, you do it all the time. Again, just be open. We only pick up 126 bits of 2 million bits of information happening at every second. And so allow yourself to pick up a different 126 bits from today, because you might hear something that makes the difference for you. So here's just the mnemonic device. It's SMART. And with goals, here are some of the guidelines that you want to follow. And the first one is having it specific. M is for measurable, A for achievable, R for realistic, T for timely, and we'll go over each of these. So we're talking about the law of attraction. When you call things into your universe, you have to be specific in how you do so. How you want to write your goals is as if now. So you don't want to, this is actually a really interesting thing, because most people write their goals in the language where they say, I want $500,000 a year. But when you say that, I want, it presupposes an energy that you wanted, and that presupposes that you don't have it yet. So what you're actually writing in your goal is like an energy that's out in the future that you're going to go get it. But then your unconscious mind will just be in the energy of getting, right? So what you want to do is you write it as they exist, and we'll go over that. And we also tend to focus on what we don't want. Actually, in my coaching experience, which is about over a decade, most people know exactly what they don't want. They are so easy to say, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. They could list it. But when I ask them what they do want, sometimes I spend months working with clients, because they tell me one thing when they come on board, and then 3 months later, we figure out that's not exactly what they wanted. They wanted something else. And so it's a really interesting thing to ask yourself, what is it that I want? Because it's so easy to talk about what you don't want. And actually, I'll give you guys a really, really simple technique. If you don't know what you want, just take a piece of paper, divide it in half, write all the things that you don't want, and then for each item, what's the opposite of that? Right? So if people say, well, I don't want to be broke, I don't want to be struggling with money. Cool, what's the opposite of struggling with money? That I make money, that it comes with ease, that it's enjoyable, that it's fun. Like, just brainstorm on what the opposite is, and then you'll come up with the towards energy. Okay. Do you guys all have the worksheet? Did you get it through your email? Do they have access? You're on mute, Ophir. I can't hear you, but I'll presuppose it's on its way.
Edgar, can you drop it in the chat? The SMART
I
goal
sure
worksheet?
can. I sure can.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Edgar. Appreciate it. Okay. So the first guideline is to be specific with your goals. Okay. So you guys just went through an hour of specificity. So I want you guys to begin to think, what is the one goal for the next 90 days that if you wrote down right now, what is the specific number? And so I'm going to check in with you, Ophir, on this because I heard a lot of jargon and a lot of words, but it seems that if you have contacts or calls, is that the term?
Yeah, the goal should be broken down into contacts, listings, escrows. So if you guys have goals over the next 90 days, the more specific you are about what that goal is, the better it will be.
Yeah. Contacts, listings, and escrows. That's what I'm hearing. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
even
people
right
I
now,
want to know how many people you imagine how many people you add to your database too. That's a key component. So how many people you contact, how many people you add to your database, how many appointments you have, how many listings you taken, how many escrows you open, and how many escrows you
okay.
close.
Edgar, are you able to just list these on the chat? So what we want to work on today is I want you guys to, for the next 90 days, write down the number for your contacts, your listings. I heard escrow. I heard people added to database. And Ophir, did I get all of the
Yeah, I'm
important
writing them
ones?
into the chat right now.
Yeah, perfect. Right. So I want you guys to write that down on a piece of paper and just throw in your number. The more specific you are, the easier it will be for your unconscious mind to try to figure it out. I'll give you guys a very basic example. Weight loss. People go, well, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, 10 pounds of what? Your head weighs 7 pounds. So do you want your head cut off? I mean, do you want to lose, you want to lose fat specifically? Do you want to lose muscle and fat? Like, what do you want to lose? And so you've got to be specific about the numbers. Okay. So right here, just an example. Don't just say I want to make more money or I want to make more. Is a dollar amount, Ophir? Do you suggest that they put a dollar amount as well on the specificity of goals?
Oh yeah, we broke it down into average price per square foot, so you'll know what the commission is.
Okay, perfect. So you guys
Yeah.
need to have all the calculations to the specificity. Okay. So you've got to be super, the more detailed you are and the more clear your picture, the better for your unconscious mind. And I do just want to say you can get too detailed. Okay. So I'll give you guys a really raunchy example because this is true. We had a client and she was trying to manifest her perfect guy. And in her SMART goals, because she was one of those super detailed people, she wrote down how big she wanted his dick to be in inches. Okay. So then my feedback is, okay, pull back a little bit. Pull back. Like, is it okay for you to do that? Absolutely. You get to write down whatever you want. And are you getting down into the fine details of it that maybe you're going to be too attached to the details, right?
No
And
pun
so
intended.
again, no pun, yes. And really, you guys already have the equation. You guys are in a little bit of a different space because you guys have the strategy and the equation. It's being given to you. You don't even need to figure it out. Okay. So the next idea and guideline is measurable. So asking yourself, how can I quantify my success? How many deals do I want to do? Right? Instead of saying, I just have a successful business. So the measurement is also, it seems that you guys have that down already with the spreadsheets. How will I know? Well, you either hit the number or you don't, right? Okay. So measurable is pretty easy. It's built in already into your strategy. The next one is achievable. Okay. So here's a couple of things. Achievable. Ophir, I'm presupposing that because this is your model, you've done it, you've seen other people do it, the numbers that you're giving them are the achievable numbers, yes?
Yes, except for I do want to preface this and say, for the 90-day exercise, right? Because you're breaking it down for 90 days. It takes 90 days to see the fruits of your labor, right? So if you started right now with the contacts, with the people added, with the appointments, the goal would be for listings and contracts, not for closings, right? Because it will take more than 90 days to get to the closings. So your
Okay.
goal should be about contacts, appointments, listings, and buyer contracts.
Okay. So we'll work on those 4, right? And so achievable is meaning that you know somebody or many people who have executed the strategy and have succeeded. So sometimes when people put goals out there, they don't even check whether it's possible. And what the reason, can somebody manifest millions of dollars or an opportunity or the love of their life out of nowhere? 100%. However, the reason why achievable is here, in my opinion, is exactly what we talked about earlier, which is to decrease the resistance of your unconscious mind. You want to set a goal that feels achievable, or else your unconscious mind goes, no, I don't want to do it. I don't even believe it could happen. Right? So it's kind of like you just want to set it up so that you're like, yeah, I can do this. Yeah, this is possible. Yeah, this is going to be great. So another component of achievable, it's also an A, is it's all areas of life. So with your goals in real estate, you've got to ask yourself, how will this affect all the other areas? So other areas are your physical health, your family, your relationships, spirituality, personal growth, sometimes money or finances is an area of life in some schools. And so you just want to ask yourself, looking at the rest of your life, can I achieve this goal? And is there anything that's going to prevent me from achieving this goal? Do I have other things going on where that's more of a priority and this is going to get in the way? So just check in. Can I achieve this goal? Do all of my areas of life support it? Will my partner support it? Maybe some people are taking care of their parents who are elderly, or they like, I'm a pure example. I have a 3-year-old. The first 3 years, I've had to scale back on a lot of my goals. I used to, when I got pregnant, thought I could do everything. And let me tell you guys, raising a young kid, man, and for those of you parents, you're probably nodding your head because that affects everything, my energy, the freedom of bandwidth of my mind. And so just take into account all these things. And for the contacts and the listings, if you just look at the numbers, is this doable right now? And is this in harmony with all areas of my life? Will it support it or not? Okay. The next idea is realistic. Okay. So research whether it's been done. If somebody's done it, you can do it. And so Ophir's done it. And I think the reason why he built this whole entire thing is because he believes that you can do it too.
Absolutely. And not only have I done it, but I've worked with hundreds of agents underneath me that have done it exactly the same way.
Absolutely. So you can Google if somebody else, in neural linguistic programming, if somebody else has done it, you can do it too. And now you got to just take that a little bit further though. And the person who has done it, is there anything that, like a really great example is, for example, maybe you guys want to win the gold medal in gymnastics, but you're in your 30s. And then you kind of just got to go, is it possible? Anything's possible, Jan, for really optimistic, I can make it happen. But if you look at gymnastics athletes, they start when they're like in the womb. So it's not necessarily realistic. Has somebody else done it? Maybe somebody who is in their 40s or 50s took up aerial yoga or pole dancing or some gymnastic thing, and maybe there's a senior competition. Is that doable? 100%. But winning the gold medal Olympics, totally different. And so I know this is pretty basic, and I just want to impart to you guys that sometimes we set goals because we saw something on Instagram, or we saw something outside that said, yeah, you could do anything, you could do this, but just ground it a little bit and make it make sense, make it practical so that your unconscious mind can get on board. So don't set an impossible goal. And the last concept is that it's time bound. So we are working with 90 days here at Real Momentum. And so if Ophir, just to clarify, do you want them to set a goal for the next 90 days, or do you want them to do it in quarters?
Unmuting myself would be great.
Yes.
It would be great if we set the goal from now for 90 days moving forward.
Okay, perfect. So if I were to just get a quick, like, I'm just gonna go November 20, so that's February 20.
Yes.
Okay. So we already figured this out for you with your goals, which is the time. So we're going to be setting goals every 90 days. And also, you're going to write the goal as if it already happened. So, how you're going to write it in the very beginning is you're going to say, it is now February 20th, 2025. And so, we're going to focus on contacts, listings. Did we say escrow?
Yeah. People added to your database,
Mm-hmm.
appointments, listings, and listing contract, buyer contract, and escrows.
Okay, perfect, right? So just a guideline again, when people have written goals in the past, they say like, oh, I want to make X amount of money, or I want to sell this many houses. But then again, that's not the energy of the present moment. Okay, so you just want to write it as if now. So before we move forward, I want to give you guys maybe a few minutes right now to just write down the goal. So it is now February 20, 2025. I am, or I have, right? So past tense, like I am consistently, or I have been consistently, or consistent with my contacts of blank per day. I'm consistent with my statistics of having this many listings per month, per week, whatever number you want to put in there.
So
I
make
have
your
added,
consistency include sphere and new people,
okay,
because that's our goal. When we consistently call 5 new people and 5 sphere a day, there's no way you make less than $500,000.
so I'll give you guys just a few minutes, and we're gonna keep adding to this. So I just want you guys to just jot down the data, the numbers. And if there's any of you guys that want to volunteer to read what you've written out for the brave soul or souls that want to take a stab at it so we can get some feedback on it as well?
Yeah, somebody's going to be brave. Otherwise, I'm going to have to call on somebody.
Aaron's like, not me.
Aaron's always a brave soul.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there. I was trying to figure out that mute button, but I was okay. I can be brave. I can be brave for today.
Yeah, well, let's try it. Let's do it together, right? And
All
this is
right.
what we're here for.
So I put I have made $100,000 in the last 90 days. My contacts, let's see. I call, let's see, hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can this. I'm consistent with my contacts, 5 per day, 25 people per week. I call 5 people. I'm sorry. Let's see, hold on. I add 5 people per day, and well, I just put that. I added 5 people per day in my CRM.
It's per week.
Oh, 5 per week?
Yeah, 5 per week.
Oh, that makes
Because
it
if you're
easy.
making 25 in the week, you're going to add 5 into your database, which is 20 a month, which is 240 for the year.
So 5 per week. Per week. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Man, I don't feel so much pressure. That is starting to sweat over here. Okay, so I add 5 people per week, and I call 5 people per day, right? For my CRM. Is that correct? Or is that
Yes.
right? Okay, got it.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Are there any other numbers you want him to add to that, Ophir?
How many appointments are you going on?
You know what? I'll have to figure that whole thing out. I took a snapshot of the goal. So the plan. I didn't catch the whole thing. I wasn't.
I can tell you based off of your numbers, so it's going to be 3 listing appointments,
Okay.
2 listings taken,
Okay.
and a buyer contract.
So 3 listing appointments and 2 listings taken, and that's within how long? Would
90 days. We're doing 90 days.
so 90 days? Got it. Okay.
Yeah, the reason I know your number is because you said 25 new people a week, which is 100 in a month, which is our average, for new people is 1 listing per 100 people you talk to.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Okay.
And just
Perfect.
so everybody
Aaron,
knows, Aaron works in a very high price point, so this is totally feasible for him.
And Aaron, what I want you to add at the very beginning is it is now February 2025.
Okay.
Okay, so it's key. It's very key. Right. So you've got your number. So Aaron, thank you for volunteering. It's a really great example. And so we're going to just clarify this picture just a little bit more. And it says here on the slide, what you want to do with your visualization is to get the last step. So I want you guys to ask yourselves, what is the last thing that has to happen so you know you have it? So it's not necessarily, I'll give you guys a few examples. So I want to go home to LA. My folks are in San Dimas. I grew up in LA. And so my folks are in LA and I want to visit for Christmas. So how do I know what the last step is? For some people, being at their parents' house, opening gifts on Christmas Day is the last step, that they know they completed the goal. For some people, it's when they're packing their suitcase and they know they're going to the airport and they're leaving. For me, it's when I buy the plane tickets. When I actually buy the plane tickets and put it in my calendar automatically, it automatically goes in your calendar. Like I know most likely, unless something happens that I'm not in control of, it's a done deal. I take it off my list. It's done. I don't need to think about it anymore. So for you, what is the last step that you need to know so that you know you've gotten the goal? You might not even need till February 20 to know you've got it. Maybe a month in, you're like, oh my gosh, I put my numbers in my spreadsheet. I feel like I'm in the flow. This is working. Maybe when one day you're brushing your teeth and you look at the mirror and you're like, oh, fear was fucking right. This shit works. And you know you got your goal, right? Or, oh my gosh, this is feeling really good and this is really easy. Like, how do you know that you're going to get these numbers that you've put? Like, what will the last step need to happen? And for some of you, you're like, no, it has to be February 20, and I need to be able to look at all my numbers and that I did it the exact way. That's how I know. So I want you guys to think about that real quick. Write it down. How do you know? What is the last step that needs to happen so you know you have it? This is so key because your unconscious mind is actually conspiring. It talks to you in pictures and images. So when you give it an image, it's like telling your crew members, giving them a map, like we're going to go to this location with these, like the latitude, longitude, and this is where we're going specifically. Okay. So I'm just going to check in. James, what you got with the last thing that you know or that needs to happen so you know you got it?
When I am able to hit my contact number in a day and without any kind of resistance, without even thinking about it. It's just a habit.
Nice. Very cool. I love that. And that can happen real quick.
That is cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super cool. So another thing I want to share with you guys, and here it says number 2, make an internal representation. And I want you guys to think about putting more energy into this picture. Okay. So what does it look like? I'm going to add something here in terms of, because it says, what does it sound like? Kinesthetic, what does it feel like? But I want you guys to add to this in terms of like, how is it going to really feel to know that you've gotten the goal? Like, I want you guys to just sit and think about that. Like, you've already gotten it. Are you like relieved? Are you ecstatic? Are you like, wow, this is really happening? Like, oh man, I knew my gut set me out
Are you
on
proud
this
of
path
yourself?
and yeah, proud, confident, related to, sometimes feelings can't be described in words, but it's like as best as you can, like what's it gonna be like internally for you when you've achieved this? Maybe you'll say something to yourself, which is auditory internal, right? So sometimes we hear from the outside, but we also talk to ourselves on the inside. So maybe you'll say something to yourself inside. Like, wow. I'll give you guys an example. There was one time if I could share with you guys my story, it's there's a portion of my life, a big portion of it, where I was in the dark night of my soul, where I was just pretty much down and out. Nothing was working in my life. This was for a while. This was for years. I'd like to tell you like, oh, it was like a month, and then like I was great. No, this was years, an overarching dark night of the soul for me. And one time I wasn't good at goal setting. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I wanted to say I love what I do, like my job. Like, I love what I do. And I just kept on saying that to myself over and over again. I love what I do. I love what I do. And I would pretend, like, what would that feel like when I finally say that to myself? I love what I do. And I'd kind of forgotten about it. And I remember I was in San Jose. This was in 2017. We were at a hotel in Milpitas area that was across from a Target. And I remember laying in bed with it was sunrise, and I was looking out the window, laying on my bed sideways, and I was looking out the parking lot. And I let out a big sigh, and I was like, ah, I love what I do. And I went, holy shit, it happened. Right. And so I knew that it took years to get there, but because I had put energy into that feeling, it manifested. And it's as if I was even shocked because I didn't even know that it finally manifested until I said it out loud. And so, what are you going to tell yourself when in 90 days, with also the presupposition that every 90 days is just going to get better and better and better? And it's going to get easier, and you're getting into the flow, and you're going to get more confident. And what are you going to say to yourself? You know? Okay, so just build that picture in your mind. So does anybody want to share, like, not just the numbers of the goal, but like, what's it going to feel like for you when you look back at 90 days and you hit those numbers?
I can go.
Okay.
Okay. So when I thought about it, I actually took a deep exhale and sense like a feel of accomplishment on what my potential, like I know what my potential is. I think like that, it felt like a great accomplishment.
Nice. I really love that. So I want to just even expand that a little bit more. Like when you said, I know what my potential is. So just, Aaron, real quick, do this with
Yeah.
me because it's fun. So go ahead and close your eyes real quick.
Okay.
And just say inside your mind, just like, wow, there's my potential. Like you're realizing what you've known for such a long time. Like it's finally like the image I have is like Superman when he takes his suit off, like you're just finally like, wow, I'm finally doing it, what I knew I could do, what I'm capable of doing. I'm so surprised, not just surprised, but in awe of what I'm capable of. Like, tell me more about what that feels like for you.
What does it feel like? It feels a sense of like I feel powerful and inside. I feel full. I feel confident. I'm excited. I'm happy.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
So write those down.
Okay.
Full, powerful, confident, happy, my fullest potential, or my peak potential, or my ever expanding, because there's never really an end, right? So it's like my ever expanding potential, like, wow. And so I want you guys to really, because the data is cool, like SMART goaling is cool. But when you really color the goal with your beingness and how you're going to show up and how it feels like, that takes it up to a whole nother level. Okay. Okay. So the next step in the visualization, and we'll do it all together, is for you guys to step into the picture. So I want you guys to just close your eyes wherever you are. And if you're driving, don't. You can listen to this later and do it, or just take note. And just go ahead and step into the picture of that last step that you know you've got it. Like, so for you, James, it's when you've done consistent contacts and there's no resistance, right? So real quick, James, so that we put it in the positive, what's the opposite of no resistance for you?
Effortlessly.
Effortless. Perfect. Okay, so just use that, right? So it's a towards word. So step into that picture, that last step that you need to happen so you know you have it. And I want you guys to just step into that picture that you already know you got your goal. And that in your mind, maybe however you keep track of your numbers, you know you hit your numbers, maybe even exceeded it. Right? So go to exactly where you are. Are you in your car? Are you at an appointment? Are you on the phone? Are you at home? Are you with your loved ones? Where's that picture at? And take yourself there. Make it as if you're already there. What do you see? What do you hear? What does it feel like in your body? So for Aaron, it's going to be that potential, that full. What are you going to say to yourself? And then just make it as real as possible and maybe even amp up the feeling even more, right? Whatever sensations you have, double it. Make it so real. Make it 4K. And also add in just this knowing that it is done. It's done. It just is. It is reality. So go ahead and lock the picture, freeze it, and step out of it. See yourself in the picture. And I want you guys to just float in your mind. Imagine that your life is a timeline where there's a past and a future. It might look like a film reel. However it looks like is perfect. And if you don't see anything, that's perfect as well. Just have the knowing that we're going to go ahead and breathe into the picture. So we're going to do something called ha breathing. We're going to do 4 of them. And when you breathe into your nose, you're going to do a ha sound that sounds like this. And when you breathe out and exhale, you're going to breathe energy into the picture. Okay, so everybody just go ahead and take a deep breath. As if you're breathing life into the picture. Second breath. Third breath. And fourth breath. And then go ahead and take that picture and go out into the future and drop it where it needs to drop in your timeline. Just trusting your conscious mind. Drop the picture into your timeline. See the entire timeline rearrange itself, past and future, according to this new manifestation. And then when you're ready, go ahead and float back into the now. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes and come back into the room. So that is not just writing your goal on a piece of paper, that is planting it into your unconscious mind. So that's a really key step. And so I just want to hear from you guys. If anybody wants to share, does anybody want to share what happened, what they experienced, any realizations, ahas, or just it was okay?
I guess we're waiting for Aaron since nobody else is.
I can share. Now I figured out these little buttons on my phone. So for me, the sign that I've accomplished my goal for this whole process is putting my for sale sign in front of a listing in my area.
Mm,
That to me is a sign of accomplishment, because I know from there that's a sign of accomplishment for me. I know it'll go from there.
nice.
And so for me, I picture myself at that listing wearing all black for some reason, my outfit.
Yeah.
I'm greeting people as they walk in with my for sale sign in front, with my open house signs, everything else. And the house is immaculate. I have all the candles, either vanilla or eucalyptus. I can smell it. I'm not sure way I'm going to go, but I can smell it. I arrived at the open house early. I put the fireplace on, and then I brought turned the air conditioner on also to bring the temperature down so it doesn't get too hot in there. So I visualize all of that. I visualize
Nice.
everything going meeting people at the door as they walk in. That to me was my
Nice.
visual moving forward.
Very
How did
cool.
it feel?
Great. I felt
Yeah.
powerful. Everything it felt really good.
Yeah. So what you just said, Aaron, again, we have very busy lives, lots of different things in your personal life that are pulling you in every direction. And so one thing that I want to share with you guys is do not underestimate the power of visualization, because even if you're about to sleep at night and you're just laying down on your pillow, run through that picture in your mind. You guys, and I think Ophir would agree with me, if we could share with you the amount of success we've heard from people who have actively embodied the energy of the end result and visualized and rehearsed it in their mind, and how it came true or it came into reality, like that's the key. That's the edge. I mean, of everything else, on top of everything else that you guys are doing, that's really going to make the biggest difference when you embody the end result energetically. And you guys you're going to be in the flow state more, because your unconscious mind is going to be like, oh, okay, we know where we're going. Well, let's, you know, inspire you to make this phone call here or talk to this person there, or referrals will just start to come out of nowhere, or whatever needs to happen to rearrange itself so that you can get to that goal. Okay, so you guys
Yeah, but-
have a SMART goal worksheet. I think these are just a couple of things
Yeah, that's
that
just
Ophir added in, just a couple of datas. Daily affirmations, Ho'oponopono meditation, role play. You guys have a weekly accountability group. And so I know that for many of you, you guys have a hard stop if you need to move to your next meeting or do what it is that you need to do. Thank you so much for being here today. And if anybody wants to stay for questions, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions with regards to mindset and SMART goals. And so,
yeah, I'd like to hear from somebody else, what the experience was like.
I
It
love
was
I was looking
kind
at Marion when I was saying
I was
that.
kind of I had disappeared for 45 minutes because I had an
You're fine.
in-person meeting.
But you
But
came back right in time.
yeah, I was really glad to, and I loved hearing Aaron's like very hyper specific,
yes.
because 100% that's going to happen for him. And I think in my mind, I'm just thinking like so many different visualizations that my challenge is to pin it down even more finite.
Yes.
I'm seeing myself out in Malibu, looking out over the PCH with, 10 listings, and I'm seeing 10 different things, and I think just I have maybe the ADHD or whatever it is,
Sure.
honing in on that precise vision, because I believe wholeheartedly in visualization.
Yeah. So one thing,
Um,
Marion, that I could just share with you, in you sharing that is, so if the challenge is like a movie or there's many things coming in and out,
Yes.
now most people are predominantly one modality. They're either visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, gustatory. Like when I told you, and I don't know if you heard the story, but I did one where it was just like, I just had one statement. I just wanted to tell myself that I loved what I did. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I felt like if I could say that wholeheartedly, everything else could fall into place. So for you, it could be a feeling, it could be a knowing. Never mind the picture. The pictures can be supported, but what's the one that's like that has the most, I'm gonna call it mana, which is like energy. Like which one has the most energy out of all the modalities, and then try that one out for you.
How do you recommend like figuring out what that is?
It's kind of just like it seems to me if your pictures are moving, try like how's it gonna feel?
Mm-hmm.
Or like what are you gonna like are you gonna be like, dang? Like maybe even because you do music, you know when that feeling when you're playing music and it's like everything kind of weaves in together.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely.
Like what do you call that for you?
Just kind of utter ecstasy, really.
Okay, so what would utter ecstasy feel like when everything in your business is moving like a symphony, an orchestra, or a band, or a good piece of music, and it's just all coming together? I
Yeah.
see the smile, so I must have hit something there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I feel I'm getting close to that. You know, when you were doing the Ring of Power and the anchoring, you know, I was really
Mhm.
focused on I kept going back to this moment where I showed a buyer a property in this enchanting neighborhood. And it was an off-market property that I found for her. And it had this like this exquisite view of the Hollywood sign, the backyard.
Mm.
And it was just, and I hadn't seen that person in 5 years. And she showed up to this, you know, showing that I had kind of like I had helped orchestrate it. And that is the moment I later did a deal with that buyer, not on that house, but it was that moment is something I keep going back to and trying to understand why that was my favorite part of the business, you know,
Yeah.
and
And if that's what was the
how to
question?
duplicate or how to take that excitement for that moment to recreate that moment.
Mhm.
You know, Marin, I don't know if you were here for this part, but what Deanne was saying is everybody has different experience, right? Like one person gets there at the end, like it's now February 20th. One person may get there like James when he's feels like he's consistently making calls and he's excited about it, then he knows that's what, so it's absolutely, it can be anything for anybody. It's good
Yeah.
that you know
So
that.
Any part of the journey.
Yeah, yeah. We all have different evidence procedures, so to speak.
And Marion, what's great for you is you have that feeling that you want. It's almost like you got that so that you could experience it. And so now that you've experienced it, it's real because it's
Yeah.
happened in the past. You don't have to make it up.
Yeah.
So if we're going to go a little bit more esoteric, which I mean, to me, science and esoteric mixes anyway, and you
Love it.
speak this language. So you want to embody that feeling. So you go back into that point in the past, bring
Yeah.
it to the present moment, and then just feel and embody that as much as you can every day, twice a day, 10 times a day, every year. Sometimes I have clients who I go, actually, I was just talking to somebody yesterday who's, by the way, learned all this stuff. And it's like, we all need reminding on doing this, by the way, just to let you guys know. I told her, I said, why don't you set a timer? She's going through a divorce. She's getting into the paranoia and the fear around it. And I'm like, well, how do you want to feel? She's like, well, I want to feel free. And I go, great. Set a timer on your phone. Every hour on the hour, you hear the timer, just stop what you're doing, close your eyes, feel the freedom, embody it completely as if it's done. And I bet you things are going to move because being, doing, having is the equation, but we wait until we have to feel the feelings that we want. It's in reverse. That's the secret, actually. The reverse is to feel it, because I just took you guys, all this visualization that I do with you guys is to get you guys to the end result, because you don't need anything to happen in the external to feel good. You can choose to feel good. So if you choose that you are already powerful, that one's for you, Aaron. And if you choose that you're already full, and if you choose that you're already fulfilling your potential, that you are, Marion, what I hear from you is it's like you are a part of that magical thing. Like your real estate business is like a magical process, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's not just like a transaction. It's like, no, I find you the off-market listing that your dream home, I found it for you. Like
Yeah.
you're a part of this like magical event.
100%. Yeah.
And so if that's your jam, right,
Yeah.
then you embody that magical, like my business is magical. I make
Yeah.
shit happen out of thin air. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, and so tap into that. That's where the energy is.
Yeah.
And bring that more in. How do you bring that more in? How can you be embodying that energy from morning, noon, and night so that it's unconscious and it's just a part of, you don't even have to think about it anymore. It's just who you are. I think, Ophir, can you attest to this with your own process with transformation and the results that you've gotten in the past and what you have
Absolutely.
now?
You know, this is part of the coaching program. It's part of my belief is when you're embodying that and you're in action and doing all these things, it's a really quick path to get there. And you know, I wasn't as aware as I am now when I was building my business and I was starting to overcome my own insecurities and lead generate and getting into appointments. But then at some point, I just literally remember going into the office and being like, wow, this is it. Like, I'm a top real estate agent. This is who I am, and this is what everybody sees. And I got here from all the hard work that I've done. It was amazing. I didn't have this process while I was building my business. That's why I think it's so powerful, because the more you can and I had problems visualizing things too, Deanne. You know, the more I've done
Yeah.
exercises, the more I practice this, the easier it becomes.
Yes. Yes. And I'm all about what works for you. I'm not about like, here's the cookie cutter approach and then you have to do it this way. It's like, what works for you? So some people listen to a song that you really love and embody the energy there. For some people, it works best in the morning while they're working out, while before you go to sleep. It really just depends. Like find out which feels the best for you and do more of that.
I think like the feeling that I'm chasing, it also maybe like shows the shadow side of it is the limiting beliefs, right? Like that I feel that like romantic warrior, you know, mystical spirit beat through when I remember some very special deals I help buyers with. And then Ophir knows that with sellers, like I don't know, I haven't been able to like get it up as much in the same way with sellers, because like I'm not just interested in let me help you sell your house and move on. Like I'm kind of, so I want to transfer that feeling. So it's not limited psychologically or spiritually just to
Sure.
working with buyers, right?
Yeah. So what you could do is you could either imagine that in your mind, or I don't know, maybe talk to a couple people and say, hey, get on your network. Just say, hey, have any of you sold your house and had a magical experience? I want to hear about it. Right.
That's good.
So that if you have some examples, you can tap into it energetically. Maybe you just, sometimes we don't know it's possible. And it's a conscious mind thing. So just talk to some people and just be like, hey, have you had a magical, or somebody who's also in real estate who kind of shares that magic vibe that you have, who works with sellers, and it's like, okay, tell me how everything is modeling. Find somebody who's successful at it and do what they do. So this is more like micro modeling for you. It's like, okay, how can I transfer that energy? Is it possible? 100%. I'm pretty sure there's somebody who's already doing it, and lots of people have had magical experiences selling their home.
I mean,
Maybe
maybe
it's
Aaron sounds like he has, because his vision is, I love his vision of like the turning the fireplace on, and you know,
Well, imagine how much money you would have saved Ali if you had actually gotten him to price it right and sold his home. Look at all the headaches, all the crazy, all the BS that this guy's going through because he can't get out of his own way.
right? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
and
just
before
really
Aaron,
cool.
please forgive me, I do not mean to cut you guys off. Before Aaron talks real quick, I just this I know again, I'm zero real estate, but I'm imagining things in my mind. Like Marion, I'm thinking if I really loved my home, like I really connected with my home and I wanted to sell it, a magical aspect of that is I would want to find the right family. Like it's not just about selling the home and it's a transaction. It's like I want to find the next caretaker, the next person who's going to enjoy this, that's going to have memories or create memories in my home. So it's like
Mhm.
it's more than just a transaction. I know that this home that I put so much energy into is going to the right people who's gonna love it even more and
Mhm.
take care of it or something like that. I'm
Yeah,
guessing
I
that's a
love that.
part of it,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah, definitely. So that mindset,
Yeah.
that's great.
Anybody else? Anybody?
Aaron, did you have a magical experience selling homes?
Did I have a magical experience selling like one specific?
Or the seller felt
Uh,
like it was a really magical experience, or just there was just like it's not just a transaction, like there was a lot more to it than
yeah,
just
it was a process, and it went over. It took about it was a 5-year process. I found him a property that was a tear down in an area, and he bought it, and then he built a new construction home on this property, and then we sold it, and he took home about $2 million in his pocket after everything was done. So that was a magical experience, like the whole process. And then he referred his other friends to me and other clients, and I sold him other real estate as well. So that was a magical experience. It was a time of the market too. The market just kept going up and up and up. So,
nice.
but that was one magical experience as far as an investor goes. Buying and selling. The next one wasn't that magical. I think he lost $2 million on the next one. But anyways, yeah.
It's interesting, I look at it, and Deanne, I share this with these agents a lot right now of where the market's headed. And so
Mhm.
I look at it as there are going to be so many sellers that don't know what's going on, not sure what to do, that think they should wait, that are going to end up getting crushed and potentially losing their property, like what happened in 2008. And so you guys are like superheroes. You guys have the
Mhm.
opportunity literally to be superheroes right now when you're talking to sellers and having real conversations with them and helping them come to reality.
I love it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I had shared with Ophir with my very little knowledge. I'm like, well, you guys are part of the most important financial transaction that many people are going to have in their entire life. And if they've got money issues, which a lot of people do, and they have limiting beliefs and emotional baggage, which a lot of people do, and you're in LA, which means everybody in LA has
Yeah.
whatever chatter they have in their mind, it's like you guys are almost like little guardian angels that come in and everything else that's going on in their life. Selling their house is probably the most stressful thing, and they're scared to death of it. And if you could come in there and just tell them it's going to be okay and I'm going to take care of you, and then
Yeah.
you just, whatever baggage or chatter they have in their head, you just make it really real for them. I mean, I'll just really quickly, just this came up. Like, I had a girl at the coffee shop this morning. I was picking up my coffee. They didn't make it correctly. So I was like, can you guys remake this for me? And this girl, she's in her 20s, and she just says to me, she goes, oh, I saw you pull into the parking spot in front of the coffee shop. And she's like, I'm a really poor driver. It takes me like 10 minutes to like parallel park. And she was just so down on herself. And I was like, you know, I said, I think it's really amazing that you're a careful driver because I know a lot of people that are careless about their driving. And I'd rather that you actually take 10 to 15 minutes to parallel park your car and be careful than for you to do it in 30 seconds and hit my car. And she was like, oh my gosh, you made me feel better. I was like, yeah. So it's like, you guys are just trying to make people feel better about the crap that they're telling themselves in their head about an industry that they don't know that you're an expert in.
Yes. Yes.
And so don't
So important.
underestimate the value that you bring when you're taking away the mental stresses going on in somebody's head. Like that's money. That there's you could actually put value on that, dollar value, that they're in good hands when they're making this transaction. Because I'm going to presuppose that you guys are all very good at what you do, or else Ophir wouldn't pick you to be a part of it.
Yes. And I look at it I used to look at it as a mission for me because there's so many bad real estate agents out there that if I wasn't out there talking to these potential sellers, one of them would get a hold of them and screw them over and take advantage of them. And so it was a purpose. It was a big thing for me. Awesome.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all for being here. You guys
Have
are
a wonderful week. Keep
Thank you,
visualizing.
Deanne.
Aloha. Thank you.
Aloha, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.